Shalom, giving all praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rachahakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders at Great Millstone who rule well. And as always, we give peace and salutations unto the elect, news and prophecy going into the things happening worldwide, and we link them to the Holy Scriptures to give the faithful elect and remnant of Israel an understanding of the things that are happening in the world, all right, giving you the comfort of knowing that these things are a result of biblical prophecy, all right, so fear not, all right. The Scriptures prophesy that the end times will be marked by perilous times, right, and this is the only way out, as the book of Second Esdras, the 7th chapter, foretells. Okay, the only way to get to the wide, filled with good things and safety, all right, is to go through the straight and narrow, all right, which is likened unto a very tight place where there's fire on one side and water on the left. Okay, and here we are at the very end of Esau's world, and everything that the apostles, bishops, and elders, and everything that prophecy has said was going to happen is here, and more is to come. As we can see our enemy, preparing to wage war, okay, especially on you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, but all of the American people, as everyone is on to his plan. He's being called out, okay, so he's going to go to what he knows, okay, and that's war, waging war, all right, using policies to justify, exterminating people and doing what he does best. This is why we pray to the Lord in the book of Psalms 140:1. Deliver me, O Yahweh, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war. All right, and we're going to get into a few things, as you can see. Pete had Seth, yesterday, right at the coming of our Day of Atonement, which was very spiritual. The coming of our Day of Atonement brought, all of these war generals, because we're going to need a covering. We're going to need, our sacrifice to be accepted by the Lord through all of these hardships. But, during our atonement, all of these things are happening. You have a government shutdown, okay, which many jobs are going to be lost, dealing with that. All right, and we have particular brothers and sisters who work, in these particular fields. So all we can do is just throw up prayer and know and understand that provision is already set, before vision. All right, the Lord has already foretold, that his elect would eat and be okay, although we would not be in the most comfortable situations. All right, being thankful for daily bread is key and vital in these times, and the necessities of life, because we're through this we're going to have to operate as pilgrims. Pilgrims are, a group of people traveling to a holy place. So we know and understand that America was never the end-all be-all. And as the prophets have been raised up, at first they ignored us, then they laughed at us. Now, all right, I believe these devils have saw chariots. They're having dreams. They're gathering in these meetings and war rooms, trying to figure out a way to counter, not only them being exposed, but, to offset prophecy. So they have to move. All right. We've, for years, told you that they're going to come down with great wrath. All right. And when you listen to them, all right, they're trying to get, rid their military of the woke agenda. As you can see, he gathered all of these top generals, and this has never happened before. It was a surprise meeting. Top generals and admirals all had to gather, I believe, somewhere in Virginia, I believe. And, we'll get into some of the talking points, but pretty much no more identity months, no more of that, woke Labiquita community, trans dudes in dresses. And, it's interesting that the right wing, because the left wing is supposed to represent, liberal, freedoms for everyone to be who they are. And the right is supposed to represent, Christian values and, man with woman and, anti-LGBT. But when it comes down to it, they're all closeted homos themselves. Okay? And they use that talking point of being against the alphabet community, as a means to forward their political divide. All right? But, all of these Edomites are a bunch of freaks, creeps, but it sounds good. All right? And when you listen to this guy's, speech, he didn't really say anything wrong. If you have a military, you don't want, he said less women in the military, we don't need dudes with dresses. He said you got to be in shape. And one thing he said, as we'll show you, is that basically you got to shave your beard. I thought they were Christians. All right. And when it comes down to it, they are prepared to wage war. All right, primarily on Jacob. All right, we remember the Charlie Kirk funeral. Okay, prepare for war. Okay, but we remember the Charlie Kirk funeral when this guy Stephen Miller got up there. Let's just listen to him, because we told you that they were going to use the C. Kirk death as a means to, fuel, a war. All right. And although it was another Edomite who supposedly took C. Kirk out, okay, when you listen to the mindset of retaliation, it's aimed at you Israelites. Okay. They're looking for a reason to draw the sword. They're looking for a reason to crack down. All right. And we know, as the scriptures say, Esau is the end of the world. And we told you he ain't going to go out without a fight. See that? So let's just listen to some talking points from this guy, Stephen, before we get into some of the things, Hedgeseth and Trump are doing, in the war, that they're preparing to wage on their own citizens, right? We told you, y'all thought that it was going to end with, migrants, immigrants, and illegal, No, they're going to wage war on U.S. citizens, okay? And a lot of what they're doing is unconstitutional, but all of that Constitution, the Bill of Rights, all of that is getting ready to be done away with. Okay, they have to bring in this NWO. We see what's going on in the UK with digital IDs, right? All right, the EU has just declared U.S. citizens who refuse biometric digital ID will be barred from Europe. So you traveling. Okay, you're going to have to enter yourself into this system. And this system will be brought over here to the United States. Okay? So look for more tyranny. Look, for hell to be brought. Okay? Things are not going to get better. Okay? This man is preparing to wage war. Okay? But let's listen to, a few brothers did videos on it. I kind of went into it, one day at lunch, but I really didn't get to tap into it. But let's just listen to this guy, Stephen Miller's mindset. And we told you going forward, this is what E was getting ready to be on.
The day that Charlie died, the angels wept, but those tears have been turned into fire in our hearts. And that fire burns with a righteous fear.
In the scriptures say the angels rejoice when one of their elect, are martyred for a righteous reason. Okay? But as that Edomite, that so-called ex-Edomite supremacist woman, if you looked at the video I did a couple of days ago, I believe sometime last week, she told you that this speech was full, all right, of white supremacist talking points that you would have to be in their in crowd to really know what he's saying. Okay? These are the biblical Edomites. The scriptures told you that the there will be enmity between the seed of the woman, which symbolizes the biblical Israelites, the chosen seed, and the seed of the serpent. This is the seed of the serpent. Okay, and they're preparing to wage war. The scriptures tell you that old serpent called the devil and Satan that deceived the world, all right, was going to come and fight against the Heavenly Father's Son and his angels. What do you think he's going to try to do to the people of the Heavenly Father and his Son? Okay, if they're going to wage war against the angels, what do you think they're going to try to do to us?
Theory that our enemies cannot comprehend or understand. When I see Erica and her strength and her courage, I'm reminded of a famous expression. The storm whispers to the warrior that you cannot withstand my strength. And the warrior whispers back, I am the storm.
He is the storm. The scriptures tell you the enemy is going to come in like a flood. Okay? They're tapping into that. This is all fulfilling prophecy.
America is the storm. We are the storm. And our enemies cannot comprehend our strength, our determination, our resolve, our passion. Our lineage and our legacy hails back to Athens.
Our lineage and our legacy. Okay?
Rome.
Hails back to Athens, Greece, Rome. All right?
Philadelphia, to Monticello. Our ancestors built the cities. They produced the art and architecture. They built the industry. Erica stands on the shoulders of thousands of years of warriors, of women who raised up families, raised up city, raised up industry, raised up civilization, who pulled us out of the caves and the darkness into the light. The light will defeat the dark. We will prevail over the forces of wickedness and evil. They cannot imagine what they have awakened. They cannot conceive of the army that they have arisen in all.
Now, who's he talking about? Who's the they? Okay? It was an Edomite who so-called popped this dude in the neck, right? So who's the they he's talking about? Well, let them tell it it's the left, but as we're going to show you, our people are lumped in with that. Okay, they have, all right, you know, systematically categorized you Israelites into the left. Okay?
All of us. Because we stand for what is good, what is virtuous, what is noble. And to those trying to incite violence against us, those trying to foment hatred against us, what do you have? You have nothing. You are nothing. You are wickedness, you are jealousy, you are envy, you are hatred. You are nothing. You can build nothing. You can produce nothing.
You can build nothing. You can produce nothing. Who do you think he's talking to?
You can create nothing. We are the ones who build. We are the ones who create.
And this was, you know, what, you know, C. Kirk and, you know, his contemporary. This is what they're going around these college campuses, you know, spreading the rhetoric. You know, because the so-called white man he's being called out. He's under a intense investigation. As the scripture said, there will be an inquisition, you know, against those who have hurt unjustly. So he's being called out on a lot of things. So, you know, he's tapping back and he's pushing back and saying, well, what were you all building? You know, that's one of his excuses. You know, yeah, we conquered the Native Americans. You know, yeah, we stole this land. Yeah, you did all of this, you know, evil, but the people who were here weren't building anything. Look what we've built. It's better now. We made your lives better by waging war on you. Okay, they're tired of feeling guilty about, all right, the history of America. They're trying to hide it. They're trying to take it out of the history books, all right, and they're getting ready to wage war. Okay, they're getting ready to wage war. They're getting ready to go to what they know, okay?
We are the ones who lift up humanity. You thought you could kill Charlie Kirk? You have made him immortal. You have immortalized Charlie Kirk. And now millions will carry on his legacy. And we will devote the rest of our lives to finishing the causes for which Charlie gave his last measure of devotion. You cannot defeat us. You cannot slow us. You cannot stop us. You cannot deter us. We will carry Charlie and Erica in our heart every single day and fight that much harder because of what you did to us. You have no idea the dragon you have awakened.
You have no idea the dragon you have awakened. Okay? You have no idea the dragon you have awakened. Okay? Revelation chapter 12 and 17. And the dragon, which the dragon symbolizes, okay, the Western Roman Empire, but we know prophetically it will be revived. Okay, it will be revived via the Renaissance. The Renaissance period was the resurgence of the Western Roman Empire. And the word Renaissance literally means rebirth. See? So the rebirth of Rome is here. Okay, and now they are trying to establish a world domination via, you know, their technology, you know, their science, and, you know, their rhetoric. And now is being threatened, all right, by this testimony. So the dragon was wroth with the woman, okay, and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Yahweh Shai. When you go up in this chapter, okay, this dragon is known as the red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, which links you to Daniel, the 7th chapter, all right, speaking of the ancient Roman Empire, this beast system that started with the Greeks, okay, it started with the Greeks, and Rome made it a powerhouse. And this devil just said, our lineage, our legacy goes back to Athens, to Greece, then to Rome, which those were ran by Edomites. Okay, the landmass belonged to the Japhetic people, but the Greco-Roman Empire, the Greeks that were started with Alexander the Greek, okay, those were Edomites. The Roman Empire we read about who was ruling in the New Testament when Yahweh Shai came on the scene, those were Edomites. Okay, this red dragon, okay, is ultimately revived in the earth today. Okay? So, let's go back. Let's read that again. Red dragon. Esau, Edom is known as red. Revelation 12 and 17. And the dragon was wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of the Most High and have the testimony of Yahweh Shai. You see that? And no other, you know, so-called philosophy, no other so-called religion is able to make sense of what's going on in this world via their prophecy. Only we can do that. You see that? Now,
you have no idea how determined we will be. The dragon you have awakened. You have no idea how determined we will be to save this civilization, to save the West, to save this republic. Because our children are strong, and our
so they're getting ready to wage war. They're preparing war.
grandchildren will be strong, and our children's children will be strong.
All right, we already know what precept I'm going to. All right, what's that? Psalm 17, I believe. No. Continue. Psalms 40. Houses continue. Yep. Psalms 49 and 11. Their inward thought is that their houses shall continue forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They call their lands after their own names. Okay, they went around conquering. Even the elements are named after them. The planets and the days of the week and the months are named after their gods. Okay, this is Esau's world. And he sees it crumbling. Okay, so he's getting ready to wage war to protect his interests, man. But it's only going to get worse for this devil, man. But he's going to put hell on all of the people on earth. Okay, before it gets better. It's going to get better for us, but it's going to get worse before it gets better. Okay, but through the hell, all right, the Lord is going to show us all manner of spiritual, happenings. It's going to be a beautiful, bittersweet thing as we go, all right, onto our exit out of this new Egypt as well as you brothers and sisters scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. We're getting ready to see our enemy crash out. Okay? This is why, brothers, all of the petty, minuscule things that don't matter, okay, get out of your own way, all right, and lock into the spirit, man. All of the little divisions and little stupid, childish beefs, things that can be squashed, squash it, man. Here it is, we're in the Day of Atonement. So forgive each other, man. We got bigger fish to fry, so to speak, man. Come on, man. Lock into the spirit. This is what your enemy doing, and you sitting back arguing back and forth, or, holding on to grudges. Look, man.
And what will you leave behind? Nothing. Nothing. To our enemies, you have nothing to give, you have nothing to offer, you have nothing to share, but bitterness. We have beauty, we have light, we have goodness, we have determination, we have vision, we have strength. We built the world that we inhabit now, generation by generation, and we will defend this world. We will defend goodness, we will defend light, we will defend virtue. You cannot terrify us, you cannot frighten us, you cannot threaten us. Because we are on the side of goodness, we are on the side of God. And to my friend Charlie, to my brother,
they're on the side of God, so they're presenting themselves, as these big time Christians. But a new study reveals that nearly half of the American adults don't believe the Bible is literally true. These people don't know the scriptures, man. We went into the whole Christian nationalist rhetoric and how really it's just a way to forward Edomite supremacy. These devils ain't into the scriptures. They don't run their countries by the scriptures. They don't run their kingdom with the scriptures, man. Okay? Now, let's play this real quick.
They're out of control. They're saying things, and they're really dumb people. I mean, I look at Crockett. I look at some of these people. They're very low IQ people, actually. But the radical left is causing this problem, not the right, the radical left. And it's going to get worse, and ultimately it's going to go back on them. I mean, bad things happen when they play these games. And I'll give you a little clue. The right is a lot tougher than the left. But the right's not doing this. They're not doing it, and they better not get them energized, because it won't be good for the left. And I don't want to see that happen either. I'm the president of all the people. But the radical left is causing this. The radical left Democrats are causing this.
So as you can see, this is, GMS Tampa Bay 12, subscribe, be edified. You can see they're playing that left-right paradigm, all right, to a T, okay? And we, when you get Revelation, the 13th chapter, in the 11th verse, and I beheld another beast coming up out of our earth, the revival of Rome. All right, the revival of that beast system that has 7 heads and 10 horns. Okay, the 7 heads, the Greeks, the Romans, Germania Major, Germania Minor, the Spanish, the French, the British. Okay, and when you get into Revelation, the 17th chapter, the 8th came out of the 7th. America came out of the British, as well as the small hats came out of the British. When you look at those small hats, those tiny tops, and what they're doing with those Palestinians, when you look at America, it's just a forwarding of British colonization. Okay, and what were they doing? Using the sword and pseudoscience to justify waging war and stealing land and resources. Okay, but as you can see, and the 10 horns represents the 10 common markets, or the 10 vassal states, which today are now the EU, which has now, it started as 10 nations, now it's 28. All right, maybe even more, but that's even divided. That has made this a beast system, control over resources, all right, and much more, policy and much more. It says, Revelation 13, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the earth, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his horns 10 crowns, and on his heads the names of blasphemy. Okay, and we have lessons going deeper into that, but this is the Edomite rulership. And the first beast which I saw was likened to a leopard. You go to Daniel, the 7th chapter, the leopard symbolizes the Greeks. You see that? And his feet were the feet of a bear. That symbolizes Russia would be at the forefront, all right, of waging war, all right, against this system at the very end. Okay, and you can go to Ezekiel 38, Daniel the second chapter. All right, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. So Rome is what gave this beast system its power and seat of a great authority. That's the very system that has been revised into the earth. But as you can see here, going through prophecy, just going through this chapter, and I beheld another beast, verse 11, coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So they've used these two opposing, this left-right rhetoric, and now they're getting ready to speak as a dragon, as this guy gathered all of his troops, his generals and admirals and so forth, all right, to give them the rules of what's getting ready to, the mindset going forward, okay, as they are getting ready to wage war, okay. And when you look at, all right, the radical left, I typed in what groups would be considered the radical left, all right. Great question. The term radical left depends on who's using it, all right, because there's some of these Edomites who say radical left, and all they're thinking about is gays and blacks and Hispanics, okay, and they're just going to deem that woke, all right. You hear, this wokeism, all right, that's tied to Jake. Sometimes it's a label opponents use, other times groups embrace it themselves. Generally, it refers to movements or people on the far left of the political spectrum who want weeping social, economic, or cultural change. Okay? Civil rights, all that, beyond mainstream liberal or progressive politics. Okay? It says socialist and Marxist. And when you look at a lot of, your civil rights leaders, they were pushing secretly Marxist ideologies, okay? Groups that want to move beyond capitalism and towards socialism and communism. Examples: Democratic Socialist, DSA, Marxist student groups, yada, yada, yada. All right, we have videos going into, some of that stuff. This devil's system is so convoluted, that sometimes you just gotta, simple, make it simple, man. Okay, Antifa, which recently came up. Okay, what is Antifa? A loosely, all right, organized anti-fascist activists, often, all right, confrontational and protest. So Antifa and anarchist and BLM, okay, and some of, the history of Jake, a lot of your so-called movements were put into the far right spectrum. The far left spectrum. Okay, because remember Jake, okay, after the Civil War, Jake was heavy in the Republican Party, all right, but after the Depression, the Great Depression, and the New Deal and all of these various, the Democrats found a way to pacify Jake with all of these empty promises, all right, and push to Jake that the Republican Party was full of, rich white men who didn't give a damn about him, yada, 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 which all of them are the devil. But this is just history. So Jake started to get big time Democrat, when technically it was the Republicans who so-called freed the slaves, right? Anyway, after the Civil War. Anyway, these are groups that can be labeled far left, all right? Antifa, anarchist, Antifa, all right, which when you look up Antifa, these are groups that they fund that pop up out of nowhere, all right, and now we see Trump has labeled Antifa a domestic T group, all right, and T, all right, ERRORIST, all right, for some reason, I guess I heard certain brothers, say it that way, so, maybe that word is causing issues, but Antifa has been labeled by DT, right? As a matter of fact, let's just do this. Let's see here. what is Antifa? Let's get the definition. A political protest movement compromising of autonomous groups affiliated by their militant opposition of fascism. Okay, and fascism is a far right. Okay, but it's nothing but the left versus the right, authoritarian political ideology, and this is how they categorize people and are able to pass laws and legislations and wage war on people. This is why we always told our people to stay out of that left-right paradigm, that mess that this devil got going on. But our people don't want to listen. They saw what looked as a black face in Obama, the Clintons, which the Clintons put total hell on Jake. Obama just totally defied the Most High and had you Jakes out there. He stepped over you and liberated the freaks. Okay? Kamala Harris is a complete joke. But this is Jake's leaders. This is who they want to rule. And in the process, you become godless. You become, irrational. You become stupid. Right? And you lose your covering. Okay? And now you find yourself in this, even when the government shut down, who's Trump blaming? The Democrats, the left. Okay, so you Jakes are being looked at as a problem by the far right. Okay, and a lot of the cities they're attacking, as we're getting ready to show you, are cities associated with the far left, the blue states ran by Democrats, cities that they're sending troops to, right? Chicago. I believe Portland, Oregon. So we'll look into it. We'll show you. But as you can see here, fascism is a far-right authoritarian political ideology and a movement characterized by extreme nationalism, Christian nationalist. All right, a dictatorial leader and forcible suppression of opposition. This is what we're seeing being waged. So Antifa, okay, was just labeled labeled terror when you go into the news. Basically, Trump he's designated Antifa as a terrorist group. Okay? Cracking down on left-wing groups. Now, going back here real quick. Okay, Antifa and anarchist. Okay, radical racial justice movements. Groups that push for systemic dismantling of racism, policing, prisons. Some factions within Black Lives Matter. You see that? And that's all the Edomite has to see is black. And he's going to label anything associated with calling out his wickedness, into this whole left-right paradigm, all right, this leftist paradigm. Radical environments, far-left cultural activists, anti-imperialist revolutionary, all right, and you can look more into it. And I said, would blacks be lumped into the woke group along with LGBT? He said, that's a sharp question, all right. It says, and it gets at how the term woke has been used in American politics. What woke originally meant among black communities was to stay woke. All right, it was originally a phrase about being aware of racism, oppression, and injustice. It goes back to the 30s, used in black music and culture. By 2010, it became tied to awareness of police brutality, systemic racism, and social inequalities. How it expanded, how woke expanded over time, activists and progressive groups apply woke to other causes like LGBTQ plus rights, feminism and gender issues, climate justice, immigration and refugee protections, and so forth. So you see how, they merged you in with the freaks and the creeps and the weirdos. Okay? So now, when they're talking about the left, they're talking about you. Okay? They're talking about you Israelites. Okay? Point blank period. It's more into that, in this, but, you Yes, politically black issues and LGBTQ issues are often grouped together under the woke umbrella. See that? And that's what this dude is talking about. Okay? Let's just type this in. Trump hedge Seth. All right. War on woke. Hedge Seth rails against woke, lays out standard in speech to top generals and admirals. So woke is a target. See that? See how now you're in that whole left-right paradigm and that war that they're getting ready to wage on you? So let's go here. Let's go to, damn, I thought I had it.
Questions being raised tonight about an unprecedented message to the military's top brass. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth outlining his...
See, the devil is more crafty. The serpent is more crafty, more subtle, man. Okay? And he's instilled these ideas into the people's minds over the years. Okay? And now this is your cause. This is your fight. Okay? When most Jake ain't with that ubiquitous community shit. A lot of Jake ain't. A lot of Jake are. Don't get it twisted. Our people have become a strange, degenerate vine, but, you know, somehow civil rights became gay rights, became LGBTQ rights, became, you know, feminist rights, became all of these rights, and they were able to now lump you into this category and accuse you. This is why the word in Revelation, the 12th chapter, Revelation, the 12th chapter, and the 10th verse, and I heard a loud voice in heaven saying, now has come salvation in the kingdom of our power and the power of his anointed, for the accuser of our brethren is cast down. Okay? So the accuser of the brethren, and that word accuse, okay, which they changed this meaning for some reason, categoreo, to category. He puts you in a category. So he makes an accusation. He accuses you to charge with some offense. He's the adversary. See that? So the accuser of the brethren is being cast down by the word. Okay? So he's getting ready to wage war. Okay? Using his left-right paradigm. He came as a lamb. Now it's dragon time. Okay, Revelation 13 and 11, right? So let's listen to some of the dragon time and what it entails.
Questions being raised tonight about an unprecedented message to the military's top brass. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth outlining his vision to reshape the military, and President Trump suggesting they use, quote, dangerous American cities as training grounds for the military. Eyewitness News reporter George...
Dangerous American cities will be used as training grounds, all right, for this war that they're getting ready to wage. It's no longer the Department of Defense, it's Department of War, okay? And Jacob is at the forefront of that war. Don't get it twisted. He's going to wage war on even his own people, but you best believe the biggest target will be you Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, man.
Jory Rand live outside the Federal Building in downtown LA with their message and how California leaders are responding. Jory.
Hey, well, Mark, we have some experience with this kind of thing here in Los Angeles. We're outside the federal complex and the loading docks. This was the nexus of some of the violence we saw this summer that culminated with President Trump sending federal troops here to the streets of Los Angeles. He has since sent troops to other American cities, and it has raised a lot of concern about where he is going with this. Today, he said there's an invasion from within in the United States, and the U.S. military should train their forces against U.S. citizens. He said this in front of 800 generals and admirals summoned to Quantico, Virginia by the U.S.
Yeah, it was Virginia. See, the enemy within. All right, there's a war being waged within. You don't think that has anything to do with our message? Okay?
Secretary of Defense.
If the words I'm speaking today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign.
Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth gathered hundreds of top U.S. military leaders today to tell them there's a new sheriff in town.
It's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops.
Hegseth also continued his war on what he calls woke ideology in the military and said physical requirements for women will be the same as they are for men, which is...
Right, basically, if you go be a woman in the military, you're going to have to be able to have the same physical all right, results to your test as men. F all of this lowering the bar to allow, these marginalized groups, and that's where DEI comes in, which who's the face of DEI? Jake, although it benefited Edomites more. Okay? Not to say it didn't benefit Jake, all right, at all. Certain Jake, all right, in particular black women, all right, businesses and things were, propped up by DEI, and, this is why they were mad at Target for, basically removing their ads and things, but overall that was something that benefited Edomites, but it was they was able to just categorize Jake under DEI, but now they're saying no more of that shit.
It's already the case, but it was something the president said today that raised a lot of concern.
San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, they're very unsafe places, and we're going to straighten them out one by one. And this is going to be a major part for some of the people in this room. That's a war, too. It's a war from within. I told Pete, we should use some of these dangerous cities as training grounds for our military.
The whole thing was vile.
The idea of sending U.S. troops to train on the U.S. population, the very people the military is sworn to protect, drew immediate condemnation.
The man doesn't give a damn about regular people, about Americans. He serves only himself and his ego.
It should scare us all. This is something that we just don't do in America.
Governor Newsom posting to social media, this speech should terrify anyone who cares about our country. Declaring war on our nation's cities and using our troops as political pawns is what dictators do. This man cares about nothing but his own ego and power. And LA Mayor Karen Bass tweeting, take it from a mayor whose city has been targeted by the federal government once. Nothing about this is normal. The last time the federal government tried to do this, Los Angeles stood firm. Our city will never accept a military occupation. So we also got some insight during this 73-minute speech by the president today into issues like why he insists that cities like Los Angeles or Chicago or Baltimore look like war zones when that's clearly not the case. He talked about a situation this week in a conversation with the governor of Oregon. The president had threatened to send troops to Portland. The governor said, we don't need them here. And the president said, unless I'm being shown fake video, it looks like World War II in Portland. Well, it turns out the video he had been shown was from 2020, and the president thought it was from today.
See that? And this devil was just tacky, man. Okay, there was some other video that he used to, justify waging war, and it comes out that it wasn't even nothing to do with what he was talking about. So these devils are just operating tacky, wicked. Okay, and again, like it says in Psalms 140 and 1, deliver me, O Yahweh, from the evil man, preserve me from the violent man. Okay, Genesis 32 and 11, deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come and smite me and the mother with the children. See, this Jacob even, all right, was like, what this nigga getting ready to do? Well, now we're we're in an even more detrimental situation. See, Jacob thought Esau was going to come after him because of the blessing, and basically Esau wasn't tripping on it. But now Esau's remembered that blessing. Okay. He remembers the lentils. He remembers the birthright. So Jacob here, all right, this is our prayer. Deliver me, I pray thee, from the hand of my brother and from the hand of Esau, for I fear him, lest he will come and smite me and the mother with the children, and he don't give a damn. Remember, Amalek, look at what he's doing. He's bombing those Palestinians to smithereens, women. Sure, he don't give a damn. So we need protection from on high from this devil. And we got to remember the Lord's promise. Hold him to his promise. And thou said, I will surely do thee good and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. So if he destroys us all, this prophecy can't be fulfilled. You see that? So again, Psalms 140 and 2, which imagine mischiefs in their heart, continually are they gathered together for war. They have sharpened their tongues like a serpent's adder. Poison is under their lips. Keep me, O Yahweh, from the hands of the wicked. Preserve me from the violent man who have proposed to overthrow my goings. Okay? And the men of the Lord, okay, are ultimately on the radar. It's just that they have to build a narrative, okay, before they can do it. Okay? Psalms 43 and 1, judge me, O God, and plead my cause against an ungodly nation. Deliver me from the deceitful and unjust man. Okay? So yeah, Trump tells hundreds of generals and the military should be used to fight the enemy within. So the same soldiers that swore to protect the U.S. citizens are now going to be used to wage war against them. And when they start to feel bad and say, I can't do this, there's robots waiting. Okay?
In this morning's broadcast, you saw Donald Trump say that we are at war inside the United States of America. Now, this president of the United States said that anywhere inside of our country that has a high crime rate, or even these areas that are led by very Democrat-leaning or very hard and extreme-leaning governors.
Left. Okay? I mean, I don't know how much clearer the scriptures can be. Okay? Revelation 13 and 11. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. Okay? Dragon goes to Draco, which is what? Harsh, austere measures, hardcore laws, man. Okay? Draco was an Athenian lawgiver who was known for his harsh rules. You know, you walk across the street the wrong way and you get beat up inside the head. Certain talking points, you get detained, jailed, burned alive, you know? And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him. All right, and who's the first beast before him? The ancient Western Roman Empire. And they were known for waging war on their citizens if they had opposing ideologies. Did not, all right, Nero, who we believe Trump is, blame, all right, the followers of Yahweh Shai for a fire that he started and used that as a means to justify, all right, laws passed to destroy them. Okay? And a lot of of these war generals don't agree with this shit. But this is what he's on. And the 2/3 of our people are going to suffer, all right, but they will eventually come at us.
These should be training grounds for our military. The National Guard must be deployed into these areas. There will be a framing of domestic unrest and violence under this new invasion from within discussion. He mentioned cities like Chicago. He talked about Portland. They are going to set up and send in quick reaction forces. They will respond and quell any civil disorder. These proposals, of course, borderline on martial law. The defense secretary joined Trump in this meeting of high-ranking military officials. He called for enormous reforms. Take away the entire diversity issue that was brought up and had nothing to do with us being militarily ready. Revoke the protections that were in order that would stop people from being able to speak their mind. Reinstate very strict but in line fitness and grooming standards. Trump came in and said that he will fire anybody who is not ready to go to war. Now, Trump ordered troops already into areas like Portland. They have already talked about sending them into different parts of our country, Louisiana. Even in this broadcast, we talk about Louisiana asking, begging for Trump to send in the National Guard. Now, posse comitatus, we do have some other legal backings that are going to provide some issues here. Civil liberties, neutrality of the military. One thing is for certain. Overnight, the United States of America changed. So we're going to start to see some of the repercussions from that. Let's go ahead and get to some of what Trump has said here.
And I said, fire department. I always put the fire department in because they're great. They're great. And I got 95% of their vote, too. That helps. When you get 95% of the vote, you always have to mention them. But they're great. And they're brave in our inner cities, which we're going to be talking about because it's people shooting at them while they're up in ladders. I don't even know if anybody heard that, but... And I said, don't talk about it much, but I think you have to. Our firemen are incredible. They're up in one of these ladders that goes way up to the sky.
Now listen to what Trump has to say next.
Rescuing people, and you have animals shooting at them, shooting bullets at firemen that are way up in death territory. You fall off that ladder, it's over.
Trump has said that these firefighters will be engaging in war just like the law enforcement. Citizens, this is Larry Ellison. He says that citizens of the USA under the new tyranny that is going to come in with artificial intelligence will be on their best behavior. This is Oracle's co-founder, Chairman Larry Ellison, he described the future where law enforcement will have regular AI-driven surveillance. He says that every police officer is going to be supervised at all times. If there's a problem, AI is going to report it to the higher ups. But here's the dangerous one. Citizens will be on their best behavior.
You hear that? Let's go back here.
This is Oracle's co-founder, Chairman Larry Ellison. He described the future where law enforcement will have regular AI-driven surveillance. He says that every police officer is going to be supervised at all times. If there's a problem, AI is going to report it to the higher ups. But here's the dangerous one. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we are constantly recording, and we are reporting everything that is going on.
So this is like China. Okay?
So for anybody who said that the U.S. military and the U.S. government teaming up with Palantir was not going to lead us into some sort of problem with tyranny inside of our country, you missed the boat, folks. You might as well swim to Mexico. Look at Homeland Security posting this. This was a little scary to me. The Statue of Liberty, bright red, ever-seeing eyes. We know what it means to be an American, according to this. You go to this .gov website, the U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services. They want you, the people, to be on a board that watches out for anybody who's in this country that shouldn't be. Maybe it's okay.
So you don't think they're going to be, certain, the people who were against the Israelites? You see all these videos against the Israelites, vocab Malone. All right, they're going to be weaponized, all right, and funded, all right, to make, all right, the Hebrew Israelite awakening, all right, a domestic terror group, all right, that falls in line with what needs to be destroyed and obliterated by the army, all right? But it will gradually get there, okay?
The Louisiana governor officially requested the National Guard. All troops must be deployed across the state. Calling all patriots, Stephen Miller says. Hiring homeland defenders. Your job will be to interview applicants, work visas, citizenship approvals, and you will get to deny them. Great pay, flexible hours, stay local. Sign up to be a homeland defender today. I don't know. I think that gives some visuals that we have to pay attention to. Watch Netanyahu as Trump watches him closely. Netanyahu said that the Bible itself, we don't talk faith on this channel very much. Netanyahu of Israel says that the Bible itself warned Israel's enemies. You stand against Israel, you will fall. So listen to what he has to say.
Since October 7th, Israel's enemies have learned a hard truth. Those who attack us pay a heavy price. But those who partner with us advance progress and security for their peoples. President Trump just said it. It's also in the Bible. It says, those who will bless you will be blessed, and those who will curse you will be cursed. And that's actually what is happening. We want the blessings. I think we've done a lot in the past 2 years to end the curse.
What do you guys think about that? Please let me know down in the comments if you think that there's something bigger happening there. Rowan Dean's warning.
So these devils are just all over the place, man, and they've been caught, but what we're getting ready to witness is the real Edomite. They're going to show you who they really are. They're going to show their horns, man.
Every single Australian, young and old, is very soon quite possibly going to be forced to choose between freedom and slavery. That might sound extreme or even hyperbole, as we say on Outsiders, but it is nonetheless the truth.
That's something we need to pay attention to, whether it sounds extreme, because you're a prepper, I'm a prepper, you're a survivalist, I'm a survivalist. We might be talking about things that no one wants to think about. What are you going to do with that force multiplier? How are you preparing? Do you have things like, your vitamins and minerals stocked up? Do you have some, like allergy medication, like this is diphenhydramine, so common Benadryl? Do you have these things stocked up? People will look at you and be like, well, why do you need that? You're a freak. You're an extremist. You're all talking hyperbole.
And grant to begin implementing digital censorship into this country. Once imposed, it will be impossible to ever break free of the shackles, which almost inevitably will tighten.
Listen to that again. The shackles that they are getting ready will never be able to be broken free from. You might right now say, well, that's Australia. Australia is the testing ground for the United States, folks.
Just as it was during the COVID, Australia was used as a testing grounds on what they're going to do. All right, over in the States. Okay? So these devils are coming, man. Let's get a few more. Let's look at some more of this.
In Venezuela, they had opposition leaders meet with U.S. officials. They met with Marco Rubio, the CIA directors.
That's more. We we get into that later.
Please take your seats. It's tiring to look out at combat formations, or really any formation, and see fat troops. Likewise, it's completely unacceptable to see fat generals and admirals in the halls of the Pentagon and leading commands around the country and the world. It's a bad look. It is bad, and it's not who we are. So whether you're an airborne ranger or a chairborne ranger, a brand new private or a 4-star general, you need to meet the height and weight standards and pass your PT test. And that's why today, at my direction, the era of unprofessional appearance is over. No more beardos. The era of rampant and ridiculous shaving profiles is done. Simply put, if you do not...
And that shaving, that goes back to Egypt. That was big in Egypt, shaving. Okay, but these are supposed to be godly, Christians, right?
Meet the male-level physical standards for combat positions, cannot pass a PT test, or don't want to shave and look professional, it's time for a new position or a new profession.
I thought warriors were supposed to, a warrior caring about his appearance, got to shave every other day. This is going to lead to a lot of people leaving this military. All of these things are going to lead to a divide, okay?
But when it comes to any job that requires physical power to perform in combat, those physical standards must be high and gender neutral. If women can make it, excellent. If not, it is what it is. If that means no women qualify for some combat jobs, so be it. That is not the intent, but it could be the result, so be it. I'm issuing new policies that will overhaul the IG, EO, and MEO processes. I call it the no more walking on eggshells policy. We are liberating commanders and NCOs. We are liberating you. We are overhauling an inspector general process, the IG, that has been weaponized, putting complainers, ideologues, and poor performers in the driver's seat. We're doing the same with the equal opportunity and military equal opportunity policies, the EO and MEO at our department. No more frivolous complaints, no more anonymous complaints, no more repeat complainants, no more smearing reputations, no more endless waiting, no more legal limbo, no more sidetracking careers, no more walking on eggshells. At the War Department, promotions across the Joint Force will be based on one thing: merit. Colorblind, gender-neutral, merit-based. The entire promotion process, including evaluations of warfighting capabilities, is being thoroughly re-examined.
So they're putting their foot down, okay? And a lot of ex-generals, and certain generals even within, they ain't feeling it.
It does run most of the cities that are in bad shape. We have many cities in great shape, too, by the way. I want you to know that. But it seems that the ones that are run by the radical left Democrats, what they've done to San Francisco, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, they're very unsafe places, and we're going to straighten them out one by one.
An address yesterday to hundreds of America's top military leaders at a Marine Corps base in Quantico, Virginia. Joining us now, MSNBC contributor Mike Barnacle, retired U.S. Army Lieutenant General Mark Fergling. Good morning to you both. General, I'll start with you and just your reaction. I'm sure you've talked to some of your old colleagues, maybe who are in the room or some who just watched at home. What was the reaction to that spectacle yesterday?
Yeah, Willie, I did talk to a few, many people in that room I've served with. I didn't retire that long ago, so some of those senior members were junior members when I was still in the service. What was interesting is it came about in two parts. First of all, Secretary Hegseth's address. I took notes as he spoke as I was watching it. And just some of the things that I made bullet points about were Liberation Day, kill things and break people, or kill people and break things, war crimes, Geneva Convention elimination, rules of engagements are unnecessary, suggesting women can't meet the standards, returning to the days of drill sergeants smoking recruits during basic training, suggesting the elimination of IG actions, especially as he's being investigated for the use of signal apps by those IGs, hawking his own book at the end, The War on Warriors, I've read, and it's a compilation of thoughts from a disgruntled soldier who has very little understanding of strategic implications of various actions. Then when it turned to the president, you've already addressed this.
It's funny, the same people who protested Jade Helm, are now, calling for it and justifying it, via this regime.
Meandering. Just all sorts of issues, much like the UN speech he gave. So many things to talk about from that speech, but the war from within, as you just mentioned, and putting soldiers on American streets to train how to react to different enemies from within were two of the highlights that I wrote down. And it was just a combination of two things that I believe were leading to what we might see next. And the other thing I'd say is President Trump thrives on applause and cheering and interactions with an audience. And when he didn't get that and instead got quiet professionalism from the soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines in the audience, that likely rattled them from the very beginning. And that silence wasn't disrespect. It was restraint and discipline and adherence to the oath of office. Yesterday was, to me, a collective reminder of our professional culture that we have in the military that transcends politics. It was on full display, and it was interesting to watch from both sides of the audience.
It was the oath to the Constitution, not to the man standing in front of them. So can you speak, General, just for people watching this morning who have so much coming at them 24 hours a day, why this you view as so unusual and so dangerous to be talking about using American cities as, quote, training grounds for the American military and having the United States military go in and effectively do domestic policing of gangs and whatever else Donald Trump wants them to do?
Well, primarily, Willie, is because it's illegal and it violates our oath of office to defend the Constitution, which says the military is not to be used specifically. That was put in the Constitution against securing American streets, other than when there is an insurrection within the Republic, which President Lincoln saw. But the indications are people are asking us to prepare to do that. So that means there's measures afoot to try and make that happen. Because I don't see it, and you can bet that all the 400 or 800 people in that audience, the generals and the senior enlisted advisors, don't see it either. And many of them have seen conflict. They have been involved in war. They know what it's like, and they also know you don't take up arms against innocent civilians, especially ones in the United States who are executing their First Amendment rights of free speech and protesting against the government.
So this is going to lead to a big-time divide. All right, 2 Ezra 15 and 14, the world and the people in it are doomed. The war that will bring the destruction is very near. Nations will arm themselves to fight against nations, and there will be great political turmoil with one group trying to overpower another and gain control. See that left-right paradigm, while ignoring the legitimate government. There will no longer be free access to the cities because of this civil unrest that's coming. Because the struggle for power will bring destruction, terror, and total confusion wherever people live. Driven by famine and terrible suffering, people will assault their neighbors and mercilessly plunder their possession. Okay, this is the times we're living in, man. Okay, Isaiah 19:1. The Lord is coming swiftly, all right, on a cloud. The Egyptian idols tremble before him, and the people of Egypt lose their courage. And this is what we're seeing, man. Okay, and it's going to culminate into the return of the Lord. The Lord says, I will stir up civil war in Egypt and turn brother against brother and neighbor against neighbor. Rival cities will fight each other, and rival kings will struggle for power. I'm going to frustrate the plans of the Egyptians, which this is the modern day Egypt, okay, and destroy their morale, the spiritual Egypt. He's going to destroy the morale, okay? They will ask their idols to help them, and they will go out to consult mediums and ask spirits of the dead for advice. This is what the American people, all right, are subjected to. You know, AI, you know, they're through, okay? You know, they even got certain devices where they can call on their dead, you know, relatives. And the American people are just, you know, they don't know what to do. They're perplexed. I will hand the Egyptians over to a tyrant, to a cruel king who will rule them. I, Yahweh, the Almighty, have spoken. You see that? So this is where we are, man. Okay, Egypt has been handed over to a tyrant. Okay, and prophetically, Babylon the Great is tied to Egypt, man. Okay, verse 16, a time is coming when the people of Egypt will be as timid as women. They will tremble in terror. And this is why that war, this is why Sedgwick, or what is that, whatever his name is saying, look, we got to man up. And outside of the beard thing, for an Edomite, you know, for your military, he wasn't saying nothing wrong. But we just know that they're getting ready to wage war on our people. And you got a lot of people who don't agree. You got a lot of people in that meeting that probably didn't agree, as he's telling you. He's saying he's talked to people. This is an ex-general, retired general, saying, I've talked to people that were in that meeting, and they don't agree. This is dangerous. That U.S. cities are getting ready to be used as training grounds for the polarization of their NWO for these troops.
General, I don't know whether you've seen the front page of the Wall Street Journal today. I'm now holding it up on camera. There's a photo shot of the front rows of many of the former members, your former friends in the military, sitting there watching and listening to the spectacle yesterday. And I, too, spoke to several of your colleagues, former colleagues, yesterday. And the word I kept hearing from them was embarrassment. Because if you look at that picture and you listen or had viewed what happened yesterday in Quantico, you saw myriad numbers of Silver Star awards. You saw myriad Purple Hearts, Bronze Stars, combat infantry badges, and they were being lectured on how to do push-ups and lose weight and shave, and it was truly mortifying. But the larger question is, going forward, what happens to the military in this country when there's so much disarray within the building, the Pentagon, where the Defense Department is housed, and various components of the military around the globe, with this internal dissension that you can seemingly feel when you witness an event like yesterday?
Yeah, it struck me too, Mike, that when you look at those faces, it's what I predicted when I was on the show the other day, and that you're going to get poker faces and a stoicism that was reflective of professionalism. But truthfully, those individuals will leave that room or left that room yesterday, and they'll start discussing and analyzing how they can implement some of the lawful orders that they got. Okay, great. We can buck up the standards. We can take a look at the kinds of things to get some soldiers, not all, certainly not even the majority, back in better shape. Take a look at what our ranks look like. But there were also soldiers and all ranks of services in that audience that said, wait a minute, when they were writing down the same kind of checklist that I was writing down, saying, wait a minute, we can't do that, or we shouldn't do that, or this is a true violation of what we are as professionals, or, hey, I've got women in my ranks who are performing admirably. Why should I kind of lump them all together like the secretary did? Or I'm certainly now going to debate with myself, what am I going to say if I'm asked to go on the street and conduct illegal actions? And I guarantee you that the people in that audience will not execute illegal orders. We've been saying that for a long time. But
well, that's where the robots are going to come in. Okay, and it's all going to culminate into what Daniel, the 12th chapter says. All right, Jacob's trouble, Daniel 12:1. And at that time shall Michael stand up. All right, and the scriptures tell you Michael was going to fight against the dragon and his angels. And that symbolizes Yahweh Shai, with Michael being the second in command under him, coming with the angels to deliver his people, destroy Babylon. All right, and in this rhetoric, this madness. So at that time, Michael shall stand up, the great prince, which standeth up for the children of thy people. And there shall be a time of trouble, which as never was since there was a nation, even unto that same time. And at that time, thy people shall be delivered, every one that shall be found written in the book of life, the elect, foreordained to be delivered out of this madness. Jeremiah 30:7. Alas, alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it, even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. All right, we'll be back with more. Hopefully I was edified. All right, hopefully you had a blessed, all right, Day of Atonement. All right, Yom Kippur. All right, and hey, stay in this thing, man. Don't be moved by, this devil and his rhetoric and his talking points. This must be. Remember, Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Shalom. For to have me a drink of water.